Hi everyone, Tim Kittrow, and here to bring home the bacon are Big Rye and the Fat Guy. Boom shakalaka!
Yeah, if we lose any more games, you're going to have to become a mall Santa. What's up, YouTube? It's the NFL Week 5 picks against the spread video for the 2020 NFL season. The Fat Guy and I are 26, 35, and 0 for the season. Not very good, 42.6%. Fat Guy, you know the drill. Who cares? We're going straight into the picks for Week 5, Thursday Night Football. Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to Chicago to take on the Bears in the Windy City. The Bears are 6-point underdogs at home. Only 18% of bettors are on the Bears. Fat Guy, who you got?
What do you guys think? It's a primetime game. Market factors are strong. These are really early lines. Don't forget, we'll be hyping that through this entire production, but they are early. So you could make the argument that there are sharps on the Buccaneers. All of that being said, I'm not laying 6 points on the road if there is a road in Chicago. I'll be taking the Bears. I'll be taking 6 points. And it's a do up, do down situation. Let's be honest. Bears, not a great performance. Let's call it against Indy. I think Indy was a better team. I think the better team won. Bucks they get the win. Now, I did hype the half point last week because Bucks, it depends what line you got when they played the Chargers. It was -7 or +7, depending on what side you were on, or -7 +7 at the start. And that half point, this is what we talk about, boys and girls. It's important to line shop and important to know what key numbers get moved over. So the Bucks were able to win by 7. So if you bought early, like I had mentioned last week, 7.5 would cover. Near game time, you might have even got 7 and got a push. Some unlucky foes possibly got 6.5. So it's interesting at how important it is line shopping and buying at key moments. So all of that being said, I do like the Bears here. As far as line movements go, 6 has a reasonable push frequency, but not nearly in the realm of 3 or 7. So you could wait to make this bet and possibly get an extra half point. And perhaps maybe on Thursday, maybe you get 7. And seven's nice because there's a push frequency on that. And what I mean by push frequency is how often you're going to tie. It's going to land on that number. And it's a few percentage points. And we deal with razor-thin margins. I've just pretty much talked about everything but the game because I'm interested in the numbers. And that's what we do on this show. So Bears +6.
Next up, let's move on to the Sunday early games, and we'll start off with the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. The Ravens are 14-point favorites at home. 56% of very, very early bettors are on the Ravens. Fat Guy, who you got?
Speaking of key numbers, last week it happened again. Washington was 13.5-point underdogs against the Baltimore Ravens. And like I said, if you had waited, the line moved to 14.5, and they lost by 14. Half-point cover, numbers matter. So what is my advice on this one? In the contest, we'll be taking the Cincinnati Bengals because I don't lay 2 touchdowns. I just don't do it, especially in a divisional game. Even though it's at home, I get that home field is next to nothing, but it still needs to be mentioned. I do like the Cincinnati Bengals a little bit, but like I said, as far as betting goes, I probably wouldn't put any money unless I were able to get that little magical half point, right? And because there is a push frequency on 14, but I'd like 14 to be a cover. So that few extra percent would make it a bet, and if it didn't move in that direction, then I just wouldn't bother at all. So I'm going to take the Bengals, and I'm going to take the 14 points, but wait a half point if you're wagering real dollars.
Next up, the Carolina Panthers travel to Hotlanta to take on the Falcons, who are 3.5-point favorites at home. 38% of early bettors are on the Falcons. Fat Guy, who you got?
Since these are early markets, I'm not as heavy on taking the disparity because it is Falcon. That would make us go to the Falcons, but I mean, how can we? It's just one of those things I can't put good money after bad, and so maybe I'm going a little bit against the mantra, but I think the market's early enough where I can make a concession and just take a good number, and 3.5 is a great number for the Carolina Panthers. They might be better than the Falcons. Carolina, I mean, it wasn't my bet of the week, but remember I said it was pretty close, and they were able to not only get the cover, they got an outright win against the Cardinals. I like Teddy Bridgewater, and now this sounds like I'm handicapping when I know we spoke to it on our live stream, which we're going to be having on Monday night. We're going to do both games, And if you're in the contest, you want to find out the winner, we will be disclosing it during that time. So please join us for both the doubleheaders on Monday because we will be live streaming. And you do learn a lot. There's a lot of savvy minds that join in the chat. But anyways, a lot of the savvy guys I was mentioning, they like Teddy Bridgewater because he's a cover machine. He's efficient. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's not flashy, though, so it's not going to stick out in minds. Because think of how Mahomes attracts square attention because of how exciting he is. Teddy Bridgewater is more or less the obvious or the opposite of that, much like Alex Smith is, who I hope comes back to play for the Redskins football team, what have you. All of that being said, I'm just going to take a good number. I love taking points. And taking points is going to be a key thing to this show this week. So give me the Panthers and give me the points.
Next up, the Buffalo Bills travel to Tennessee to take on the Titans, who are 1.5-point favorites. Right now, there has been no bets made, so this is just an opening line. There's no line that you can currently bet. But Fat Guy, this is the show where we make picks. If this game happens, who you got?
Well, I mean, realistically, I just think the Bills are unaffected. I don't know the extent of sickness or what have you of who's going to be held out. So I have to make this bet today. The gun is to my head on this show, and we're just going to take presumably the better team, presumably the points, and well, not presumably, I am going to take the points, and I'm going to take Buffalo. I mean, they're unaffected. This is at a line of 1.5. How do I not take the Bills, not knowing the market factors, right? You can cut it up any which way, but I'd rather take something known as a strong Bills team than an unknown to a questionable Tennessee Titans team. You can't really dissect it too much because of there's obviously there's virus implications. So that being said, for the contest, and I mean, if I could take it in real life, if I could get some money down, I'd probably put some on the Bills. So let's go the Bills. Let's take the points.
Next up, the Las Vegas Raiders travel to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 12-point favorites at home. 65% of early bettors are on the Chiefs. Fat Guy, this is before the Monday night game, so barring injuries, who you got?
Easy peasy cheesy. Now, it's going to be the Raiders, clearly. Now, not just because I'm wearing my patented Raiders hat. Thanks, Big Rise Mom. But I'm going to be taking the Raiders because, I mean, it's 12 points, a divisional game. That's just too many. Speaking of numbers, though, there is something interesting. Now, a big injury could happen. Like a Mahomes injury would put this line way down. So you could my advice is to maybe take a sprinkle on the Raiders if you're interested, assuming that that's the team you like as well. However, though, 12 is a no man's land number. 13 has more of a higher push frequency. 11 doesn't do much, so even if you swing down, you're losing very little in value. But I don't imagine. It's the Kansas City Chiefs, everyone. They crush everyone every week, which is why these numbers are so inflated, right? And the numbers have to come home to roost, more or less. So it's harder and harder to bet on the Chiefs every week. Hey, if you like it, you wager your dollars how you do it. But I prefer, because it's realistically, this line should probably be like a 10, maybe a 10.5. So there's a tiny bit of juice in that gap. However, though, I would be waiting to try and get 13 and a half, and then if I'm really greedy, 14. But I mean, I don't see that happening. 13, though, makes me quite like the Raiders. Not quite, well, like them reasonably. And I might just put a sprinkle on them before the game because an injury would give me a really, really nice number at 12. So I like the Raiders, and it's not considerably because I don't put a lot of money when you're playing against the best teams in the league, and Kansas City is the best team in the league. I don't think anybody's arguing. That's another thing too. In the comment section, I get hated. Oh, you hate Kansas City? No, I think they're the best team in the league. I just can't lay double digits every week. I'm not going to do it. Right? It's not like I don't have respect for Kansas City. They're awesome. They're fun to watch too, Big Right? Let's be real.
Fat Guy, next up, the Philadelphia Eagles travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. The Steelers are 7-point favorites at home. 85% of early bettors are on the Steelers. Fat Guy, who you got?
Steelers have had an extra week. Is that a good thing? I don't love this game. 7 is a good number, though. 7 points. I'm going to be taking the Eagles after a interesting win. Is that what we're going to call it? This Sunday night.
Maybe a surprising win would be a good way to.
It was an upset, but at the end of the day, you're still playing against Nick Mullins, and then what happened, C.J. Beathard. But Wentz had one of his better games, and the O-line, despite incredible deficiency, played okay. They're going to have to figure some things out because they were against an undermanned, very injured 49ers team, and the Steelers' D-line can bring it. So that's beside the point. Market-wise, I like the Eagles, but as a fan, I'm interested to see what concoctions they come up against a very stout and perhaps best in the league Steelers defense. Eagles in the points.
Next up, the LA Rams travel to Washington to take on the football team. The football team is 9.5-point underdogs at home. 59% of early bettors are on the football team. Fat guy, who you got?
We get 9.5 points at home. I'm going to take the football team. And although they didn't do me well in the contest, they were able to gain a few shekels for the old BRFG crew in a half-point cover, losing by 2 touchdowns to the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, I get they lost by 2 touchdowns, but we care about covers. We care about dollars. Now, 9.5 is going to be a contest pick. I'm hoping to get 10 or 10.5. Don't mind if it goes down to 9 or 8.5. I just won't bet it. Let's look for some positive line movements with the Washington football team, Redskins, what have you. Do I think the Rams are better? Absolutely. But I also think Rams play a style that keeps it close in some games. Like the Dallas game, for instance. I understand that they blew away Philadelphia, but they were close. They could have lost the game to the Giants. There was a comeback brewing. Maybe not lose, but there was a tie implication. Was there not, Big Rye?
Yes.
Oh, there are a lot of talkative. Now, if guys are interested in talkative points, Big Rye has his own line movement public betting market show. It's going to come out every Saturdays. So if you're interested in this type of magnanimous personality of his, check him out on Saturdays. It is actually the most informational thing that we probably do. I don't think informational is a word, but I'm going to use it anyways. Whereas obviously I bring the entertainment. Well, with one word answers like yes, he puts up a good fight. But that being said, I'm going to take the Redskins, the Washington football team, what have you, and I'm going to take the points. Hopefully look for a positive line movement so I can throw a few shekels down on them.
Absolutely. Next up, the Arizona Cardinals travel to New York to take on the Jets. The Jets are 7.5-point underdogs at home. Right now, bets are split 50-50. Fat guy, who you got?
How do we do this to ourselves? So, in the contest, I'll take the Jets 7.5. They really should have covered. I mean, obviously, the game that happened on Thursday is just one of many iterations of a game that could happen, but I still felt there was some value on the Jets on Thursday. Is there value on this Jets team? Yes, but I can't. It's very hard for me to put money on a team that is just such a disaster right now, right? Because I mean, here's a good example: the Giants are 0-4 too. Giants are bad, but they're better. They're better than the Jets as far as execution. There's less turmoil. You know what I mean? If you're executing plays and they're just not working out, that's one thing. If you just make considerable coaching decisions time and time again and have just horrible rumors run through your organization like the Jets do right now, it's just very difficult to put money on them. So this is purely going to be a contest pick. And I almost think this line might be just right because the Cardinals are kind of due up. I mean, they lost to the Lions and now they've lost to the Panthers back to back, despite a stunning Week 1 victory over division rival San Francisco 49ers. Cardinals were kind of hot going into Week 3, and then it might have fallen apart and they might have shown their true colors. They do have injuries, but so does everybody. I'm going to take the New York Jets, although I'm not sure how much I like it. I hate wagering real money dollars on the worst teams and the best teams in the league, and this is one of the situations. Contest pick Jets.
The final early game is the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Houston to take on the Texans, who are 7-point favorites at home. 44% of early bettors are on the Texans. Fat guy, who you got?
This is one of those things that looks too good to be true to me, and I'm really confused. Someone's going to need to, I say buy the Jags, buy them now. 7-point underdogs. Houston's 0-4, and that's just a results-based record, but they haven't been very good at all. They've played really tough teams, but they've been bad. They have been bad. They shouldn't be 7 points I don't think better than anyone. I think they have one of the worst defenses. It's very difficult for me to lay 7 points with the Houston Texans. The only reason I wouldn't like shove my chips all in is because this line looks almost too good to be true to me. I'll be taking the Jags. I'll be taking the 7 points. The do-up Jags, might I add, who weren't able to get a victory against Cincinnati Bengals. Texans -7 just seems eerily odd. I think this should be a 4-point game. What do you think, Big Rye?
I'd say 4-point as well. This is one of those where it's too good to be true. I'm really interested to see how the market turns out. This is where it's good to check in with us on, Friday night, Saturday morning, and see that video to see how this market develops. Because Fat Guy makes a good point. If this comes down to if it's like a 20% for Texans and they're still 7-point favorites, I actually really like the Texans.
Yes.
But as of now, it's a Jacksonville Jaguars pick just based off the line.
Him saying that, though, hold on, is I like how it's 7, the number could not change, but the market could influence, because you have to admit there are games where there's just something happening that we don't know. You know what I mean? The public has an access to a dearth of information, the internet, but there are things that just aren't shared, and this could be one of those spots. If you want to look at spots like this that have happened in the past, a good example would have been Cleveland routed the New England Patriots about, I'm going to say 7-8 years ago, and the line opened at 3.5 points, and it was a 1-6 Browns team against a 5-1 New England team, and it was Cleveland at home, and the line was 3.5 points, and 90% of the bets were on New England, but over half the money was on Cleveland. So that kind of gives you an example of, it looks so easy, why wouldn't the Pats beat Cleveland? And obviously in that one game sample, I'm picking a good one. Cleveland smoked them, and how often does that happen? So probably the last time the Browns beat the Patriots. This is the example I'm referencing. So this is one of the ones where it's not quite as obvious as that one, but there's a possibility. Something's fishy about this game. So I'm going to be taking the Jags and the points, but that could flip. That could flip considering what the market does, but I am going to put a sprinkle on them to get the good number of 7.
All right, Fat Guy, let's move on to the midday games where the Miami Dolphins travel to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. The 49ers are 8.5-point favorites at home. 52% of early bettors are on San Fran. Who you got?
Well, the theme of this week is taking the points, and how can I give up 8.5 with San Fran? I can't do it. I like this Miami team too. I'm a little biased in that realm. They weren't able to cover against Seattle, but we know it's Russell Wilson is on his own plane. Him and Mahomes, they live in this alternate universe where they're so good that it doesn't really matter, right? Unless they're laying 25, which okay, then I have a better chance. But I'm going to be taking Miami Dolphins. I'll be taking the 8.5 points. San Francisco. This is one of the things where it's curious to me too, considering the amount of injuries sustained that were highlighted on this Monday night. I think this line will come down, though. I think heavy money is going to come on the Dolphins because there's going to be public reaction to San Francisco dropping a game to Philadelphia. I would have liked of them to have come back so this line might not be so elastic or volatile. I do suggest getting money down on the Dolphins. This is going to be my play of the week. I like the Dolphins plus 8.5.
Next up, the New York Football Giants travel to Dallas to take on the Cowboys, who are 9.5-point favorites at home. 72% of early bettors are on the Cowboys. Fat Guy, who you got?
Giants and the points, been pretty consistent. They might be the team I pick every week. There's a chance because of the Jets are so, I don't know, they're so bad. I was trying to find a fancy word for bad. They're just bad. We don't need to dress up anything for the Jets.
They're uninspiring.
Yeah, there you go. The Giants, though, they are they're a different kind of they're a different kind of bad. They're a try hard bad. The kid in gym class that doesn't quite get picked last because you will get effort out of him.
They're a small dog with big bite.
Yeah, they have the physique of Big Rye. So
exactly.
I'll be taking the Giants. I'll be taking the 9.5 points. Cowboys have been lighting up the scoreboard, but their scoreboard has been lit up further. They're literally 1% away from being 0-4 themselves, and joining the Giants in the bottom of the worst division in football. That being said, this is a division rival. 9.5 points is too many points. I don't mind buying now. You could argue waiting, but I really don't think this line is going to shift. I think it'll shift down, if anything. Only 28% is on them right now. But I'm telling you, the sharp crowd like teams like the Giants because they're going to cover. They try to win. They had a reasonable showing against a strong team like the LA Rams. This is a team where they could go 4-12 in wins and losses, but 12-4 in covers. Yeah. Like that's a possibility. Maybe not that much, maybe 10-6, but I feel like it's going to be inverted almost, whatever their record is.
And to hammer that home even harder, Fat Guy, the Giants, even though they only have 28% of bets at the moment, they have 65% of the dollars wagered, and that's very, very early dollars. So sharps are all over the Giants at 9.5.
So let's put that into perspective. So let's think about that. There's probably 1,000 bets, Big Rye?
Let me take a look. There is just under 400 bets so far. Very, very early on Sunday evening after week 3.
So let's say about 300 people bet on the Cowboys, right?
Yep.
Let's say the average bettor is doing what? $100?
Yep.
So that's $30,000, right?
Yep.
So that means that the 100 people left have to make up that 30 grand, right? So I can tell you there's going to be some Giants fans. So we'll take that's about 25 bets, let's say. All right, so then that's 2,500. So that's 75 people have to make up 27,500, assuming my math is correct. So there's going to be guys that have probably wagered like 5,000 on this game, and they're not like whales aren't betting at Sunday night, waiting at their computer like a nerd. Like let's just think about this. It doesn't mean that the Giants are going to win, but we're talking about micro percentages, and chances are that there's a couple big boys betting on this game, betting 5K, called dime bettors when people bet 1,000 or more, or 1,000 is their unit sizing. And I would imagine there's a bunch of dime bettors on the Giants. I like them. I think they're a team that doesn't get enough respect from the public. That's why the lines are overinflated. This is another really good pick. It's pretty on par for them for the Miami game that I mentioned earlier. I'm glad we got to this discussion because this is going to be a good team, assuming they're able to comfortably lose throughout the year, if that makes sense, to take as a dog. Give me the Giants and the points.
The final Sunday midday game is the Denver Broncos traveling to New England to take on the Patriots. The Pats are 11-point favorites at home. Only 24% of early bettors are on the Pats. 17% of the dollars are on the Pats. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, how I have an unknown team laying 11 points that still has a game yet to play that could have an injury. Or I could take the Broncos. I get they're the Broncos, but they had an okay game on Thursday. They're an okay team, and I get 11 points. This is the easiest pie, right? I understand that the early betting market is on that, but they think the same thing as me because a lot of guys aren't going to put money on lay 11 on New England when they haven't even played their game. And don't forget, New England's starting. I know it's handicapping, not my thing, but New England has to start presumably. Jared Stidham or Brian Hoyer, that's a far cry from Cam Newton, especially the way he's been playing, because Cam Newton has to go into, I would imagine, virus protocol or what have you, and there's probably other guys on this team, and I'm just saying that the Pats information about them can only get worse, and 11, I bet you, is a really good number. The tip of the iceberg for this to come right down to like 6 would probably, if it moves to 10.5. If you have money in your account and you're ready to wager, I would take this number. There's just a lot of inflated lines, and I would take it before they play. So 11, if your book offers it, is a nice thing, and I would buy now. Give me the Broncos. Give me the points.
And the final midday game is the Indianapolis Colts traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns, who are 1-point underdogs at home. 57% of early bettors are on the Cleveland Browns. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, Cleveland had a dazzling performance. So you know what that means. Let's go Indianapolis Colts, the team that won the boring game. Of course, I like it. I like the Colts. I have confidence in them. The Browns are 3-1 for the first time in my memory. And probably since like 1994 would be my guess. Maybe they had something early in the early 2000s when I was in high school and I missed it, but they haven't had this much success. And they did it in devastating fashion because I'd imagine, not that I watch sports highlights or anything, but I would imagine that they're filled up with some of these Browns shenanigans.
Definitely.
Like the Odell run, that should have got blown up in the backfield. It just was a low effort play on the Dallas defense. That's going to stick out in people's minds. The Landry pass, by the way, Jarvis Landry might have a top 25 arm in the NFL, by the way, after I saw that pass. And then think of how like other crazy stuff that happened. A blocked pat that got touched by Dallas and then recovered in the end zone by the Browns. If I'm even getting that sequence of events, it's never going to happen again. It's insane. So this is probably the only time where like something good happened for the Browns that was unlikely. The Browns are probably very overrated right now. Let's be honest.
Yes.
I think Indy is a better team just from a handicapping perspective, and I feel like you don't have to buy this line. I could see Indy becoming a dog in this game because the public is going to like Cleveland, right? Because think about it, all week is going to be highlights of the Browns, talk shows. What are they going to say? Are the Browns for real? Are the Browns going to make the playoffs? Maybe they will, but this is an average to below average team. We all know this. They're just on the in the midst of an upswing. Everyone gets lucky, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why squares win sometimes. And I think squares are going to be putting money on the Browns. They and don't forget too, there's also this, I've mentioned this so many times. Think of fantasy implications. You know, people like Odell Beckham, so his big day resonates with those people. People that play fantasy like to gamble generally, or at least dip their toe in it. So an Odell day, a Jarvis day, Kareem Hunt day, that sticks in their brain. Yeah, I like the Browns when they're on their phones trying to make a bet on Sunday morning. Whereas Indy, who you have Naeem Hines, Jordan Wilkins, T.Y. Hilton, no one's starting Mo Alley Cox, let's be real here. Phillip Rivers, those aren't guys that are going to stick out in that way. So I'm trying to use all these factors to predict the market, and that makes me really, really like the Colts. This is the only time I'm laying points this week, boys and girls, and if laying points singular, not plural, because I don't like laying very many points. That all of this big production, long-windedness, which is the soul of wit, by the way, is to take the Colts and lay the point.
All right, Fat Guy, on to Sunday Night Football, where the Minnesota Vikings travel out west to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Seahawks are 7.5-point favorites at home. 68% of early bettors are on the Seahawks. Fat Guy, who you got?
We're going to take Minnesota. I'm not laying 7.5 points. I'm just not doing it. I don't love it, though. That's the problem. Betting against Russell Wilson is just a nightmare. There's a guy I bet with locally. I take he bets on the Seahawks to win 11 games every year, and I think 10 or 11. And I always just take the over/under and I add one win, and he beats me every year. I think it's 4 years in a row where I have to pay him a few $100. And guess what's going to happen this year? It's going to happen again. I told them they have to win 12, and I don't think I think I'm already dead in the water, and this will probably be another game. All of that being said, I don't like betting against the Seahawks because of how good Russell Wilson is. And man, DK Metcalf is putting up the whole team is putting up serious numbers on offense. Of course, they're conceding on defense, but I mean, that's going to happen when you're crushing everyone, right? Like you're not going to win on both sides of the ball to an extreme degree. Yeah. That being said, Minnesota able to getting their traction a little bit and getting a win against a in tough Houston, who I hope gets rid of B.O.B. when as soon as possible. So there's not much to this game other than 7.5 is a nice number, and I think that's a little bit more than it should be. I think it's a 6.5 point game. Market factors favor Minnesota. Small bet on Minnesota. Contest pick Minnesota.
And for Monday Night Football, the LA Chargers travel to New Orleans to take on the Saints, who are 8-point favorites at home. 54% of early bettors are on the New Orleans Saints. Fat Guy, who you got Monday night?
8 points. 8 points. I'm going to be taking the Chargers. And now here's a really good example. Are the Saints really are they really better than the Bucs? You know what I mean? And it's the same situation for the Chargers. They're playing a similar team to the Bucs as the New Orleans Saints. And I thought they did pretty well against the Bucs and were able to cover if you got the right number, and I think that'll happen again. Buy this now before it goes down, because I think there's a chance. I don't think it'll move upwards. I think it only can move down. 8 points should be the most you can get, maybe 8.5, which is a minimal difference. So I might as well buy at 8 with good juice. I like the Chargers in real life. I like them as a contest pick. 8 points is too many. And cue the music, Dylan Toddfield. You got to admit, 8 is a lot. It is. 6.5, I can understand if you took the Saints. 8 is too many. You're going to fire me up in the comment section because I bet against your team. But what is your number then? What is it? If 8 isn't too much, then what is? Chargers in the points.
All right, fat guy. On to the lightning round. Tampa Bay at Chicago.
Bears.
Cincinnati at Baltimore.
Bengals.
Carolina at Atlanta.
Teddy Bridge and the Carolina Panthers.
Buffalo at Tennessee.
The Bills.
Las Vegas at Kansas City.
Oh, we'll go with the Raiders.
Philly at Pittsburgh.
We're going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles.
LA Rams at the football team.
Redskins, football team, what have you.
Arizona at the Jets.
This is good money after bad, and it's the bad Jets.
Jacksonville at Houston.
The Jacksonville Jags.
Miami at San Fran.
Oh, the Dolphins.
The Giants at the Cowboys.
The palatably bad Giants. I don't know if palatable is a word.
Denver at New England.
Broncos in the points.
Indy at Cleveland.
Laying the point with Indy.
Sunday night, Minnesota at Seattle.
Vikings and the points.
And Monday Night Football, the LA Chargers at the New Orleans Saints.
Chargers and the points.
Hell yeah, brother. All right, on to the 2020 Week 4 leaders. We have a three-way tie between Bobby H., the Spread Eagle, and Flea Bit Peanut Monkey. They've all gone 10-3, good for 77%, as well as Electric Bolts, who went 9-4. I found Monica under Trump's desk at 9-4. Half Moon's Picks, another YouTuber, at 9-4. Boom Shakalaka, a nice shout-out, at 9-4. Mark Dela Cruz going 9-3. Carson's Glass Arm at 9-4, and Detroit one time at 8-5. Fat guy, your thoughts on the Week 4 leaderboard?
It's tough, man. But 10-3, fantastic. I'm glad there's a lot of good weeks that are happening. Not for us, unfortunately, but can't always win. Sometimes you lose.
And there's 2 games Monday night, so remember to join us for the live stream to find out who wins between Bobby H., the Spread Eagle, Fleet Bit, Peanut Monkey, and there's a chance that someone else with 9 wins could win this, depending on who they've got selected for the Monday night games, as well as the over-under for the last game. And Fat Guy, on to the picks against the spread overall leaderboard. We still have Insert Clever Pun at first, 40 wins in 61 games, good for 65.6%. An excellent start to the first 4 weeks of the season. Your thoughts?
It's unbelievable. I'm predicting Insert Clever Pun comes down to earth, but he still finishes with a winning 56%. That's I think the winner is going to get 56% for the year, which is a strong year. But time will tell.
All right, Fat Guy, on to the JS715 name of the week. Honorable mentions, I'll let you take it from here.
Electric Bolts, time to drink. Now he's referencing his fantasy team, which is in the Big Rye and the Fat Guy Fantasy League. I believe the Boston Bastards League. And the other league is called the Chase and Daniels League for obvious reasons. So he's not doing well, so he's mentioning that he's going to have a drinking problem. And I would too if I was that bad. Jets will win the championship, eh? It's a callback to the last week's winner. Jets will win the Super Bowl. I like callbacks. I found Monica under Trump's desk. If you did, she probably has the virus. Cobra Kai and the Fat Guy. I like things like that, Cobra Kai and the Fat Guy. It has a literary device that I can't put my finger on, but it's interesting. And growing my hair out like Big Rye, yeah. Sometimes I'll let Big Rye get a little bit of vanity in there. You got to throw it in there, because I'm too busy, signing tits, kissing babies, that sort of thing.
This is the JS715 name of the week. Whoa, kaboom!
Biff Tannen locks. Now, this is a little unfair. JS715 just won his own contest. But he appeals. He knows how to get me. He just doesn't. It's Back to the Future 2. It's my childhood. It's Marty McFly. It's the sports almanac. It ties everything in. Pop culture that very few people get because they're not old enough, and gambling, and it just it wins. It wins, and that's probably why he outperforms us in the contest, because he already knows, because he has Gray's Sports Almanac. Although he probably has an updated version. That one seemed to crap out at the year 2000.
Remember, you can make your picks for Week 5 at BigRyanTheFatGuy.com. There's also a link in the description. And remember, the winner gets $100 US dollar prize. I say that every single time. Every single time I'm going to say that. You have like one line in this whole thing. I know, it's so easy. But most regular season wins $100 US dollars for the season. So remember to compete at BigRyanTheFatGuy.com. All right, Fat Guy, that's it for the Week 5 picks against the spread. Your thoughts on all the underdogs and the 1 point that you laid with the Indianapolis Colts?
I feel good. I'm taking points. I like this. This could be a good week. We're due for it. We're like the Washington Generals.